saying, like I was talking about wearing the necklace like that. And you know what? I've seen people, and this is what we said, for crap sakes, just to go get like $5 worth of like copper and make a copper ring for crap sakes, or put as an anklet or a bracelet, or rewrap some of this on a existing necklace or something.
Yeah, try it with your house plants first, and
It's
just
work. Yeah. Yeah.
start
So
somewhere.
they call it electrical culture, but again, it's a very old technique.
Yeah.
So it works, the antenna array. So that's why they took a lot of the copper and lead out of the paints. Again, looking at how you can bring in food, as I talked about doing essential oils, I put it in everything. There isn't anything. I've got it in the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, the living room to show you guys, right? But I want you to take a look at here. And this is when we start talking about going into that cleansing or detoxification, right? You stay away from the degenerative foods. Again, degenerative foods are processed to have zero energy for aura. You can look up curling photography on David Wolf's book or other things, but on here, once you start moving into the raw foods, the superfoods, and then getting into the fruits, like grapes and stuff, those are one of the highest concentrations in there. And going into the fasting, again, the lemonade, we showed you some different ideas, juicing, whatever. But we have to realize what's going in. And we are dealing with this, and we just don't have a way to totally disassemble it. We're doing the best we can, but this is just something I wanted to bring to people's attention. So it really is kind of fun, once you get into it. But you realize like where we can go with this kind of information. Sky's the limit. But it really comes down to the water. I can have all the high-tech stuff that I want, but everything's coming down to this, biofield or energy. So, whether it was with Richard Bartlett, I trained with him. That's how I met Janine and other people. It was amazing. Probably one of the best instructors and teachers and mentors I've ever had. And he wrote 2 books called, which you might want to interview him down the road. It's called Matrix Energetics. So I'm one of his team as well. And the other one he wrote was called the Physics of Miracles. And so this is what we were doing 20 years ago. We were having to when we would have people and clear them and try and help align their systems, right? Again, it's like entrainment. Because if we're seeing a little bit higher frequency, then whoever comes up wants to kind of match. It's like the women menstruating or the pendulum starting to swing. And so we could do time traveling. We had people like myself. I just did it not that long ago. I broke another ankle. Anyway, normally I'm on crutches. I was on crutches normally for about 4 weeks, and it takes you about, 6, 7, 8 weeks to get back to par, right? 2 months. This time I used one of Ryan's little tools on my ankle here, and I was off crutches in 4 days.
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah, I broke my ankle like 2.5 years ago during the truckers. That's how I was in the front seat of with Barbara. Yeah. And I was, in a wheelchair because I couldn't, but they insisted I wouldn't do it again, but they insisted on putting the titanium in. So I've got the screws and I can feel it. And I'm the last about 6 months, I've been saying, I'm going to get those taken out. They said, if it bothers you, you can get them taken out. So, they say, oh, your age and this and that, right? What if it happens again? But I did a lot of comfrey. I drank comfrey tea. I did a lot of packs, like with comfrey oils and stuff made from my garden, and which is bone knitting, right?
Yeah, so, bone knit.
Yeah. And my manager also did almost the same thing about 1.5 years ago. And she didn't get no screws or titanium or operation. We put her in the boot, and I wrapped her like every day. She was doing the comfrey, and within 4 weeks she was walking. And I mean, which is good. I mean, they don't have the money, shouldn't have the money for necessarily, having the operation. But when your foot is sideways like that, and you're at the hospital, he's putting it back in place. I should have left it like that and just, put on the boot. So
yeah, you can make
live and learn. Yeah, it's intimidating,
And like one of the things in here, I'll show you too. This is actually my site. So if someone wants to get a hold of me, I'm up here at clanmother13@gmail. Now, one of the things I wanted to just sort of show people, if they're, you asked if they were interested in this kind of stuff. Absolutely. This is where you go to look. And if you don't remember mine, or maybe I'll give it to Carol. She could put it underneath, or you get a hold of me. Things. or on whatever X, Telegram, whatever, is that in here, it talks to you a little bit that we will give people a free voice scan. So it takes me about 15, 20 minutes. It's not a long time, but gosh, it's like really fun. I'll show you how. But you can learn a little bit about what I'm talking about with Royal Raymond Rife, Hammerherd, all these type of things are built in. Okay, Dr. Debbie Drake and myself and others have put a lot of stuff in here. So again, it can be run off of food, but we can look at digestion, joint, everything else, and that your voice is containing the energetic things. And it's, 95% as accurate as drawing blood. That's what Deb and I have found.
Wow.
Okay. So it correlates almost identical, and the algorithm in some places are much better. So when you want to penetrate, we use this. The only thing we used in the hospital was EEGs, EKGs, all the department of radiology, MRIs, ultrasound. Those are all a form of this. And of course, what did we do? We used ultrasound to get rid of kidney stones. Well, hell, they could have told us we could have done it with tumors and bacteria. So what the flip back then? So this is a really important thing to take a look at what we have here. So if they want, they can get a hold of me. I will show you something in here too that I've got. If you go to the shop now, I'm not saying you have to do anything or do remote services or what you're doing, but if you look at the shop now, at the very top of it, it's going to say download your Genius app. So you can have 2 weeks to play with it. And crap, if you can't get a lot of stuff cleared out, and you can put other people in it. So if you want to do your children, pets, or hand, like feng shui, like house clearing, home, land clearing. So I've taken centers like yours, taken a picture of it, or gone to Google Earth, and then we've created a new energetic template for it. And we use that as well. A lot of people do that before we go to.
Like a hologram, right?
Exactly. Hologram. And then what they can do if they want, you can download the Quanta capsule. And this is normally about a $65 item. But basically what happens is you put your voice and picture in ahead of time. You send it to me rather than me doing it, but you just send that. And what happens is I can record your entire sound therapy that you can listen to for a week for free.
Oh, wow.
Okay. We actually give away quite a bit because most therapists, as you know, are $100, $200 and up. So just to even get this and to play with it. And you have to just, so you know, is because it's a very special thing. We're giving it to people free. So you're not paying in the Apple store. You just have to do a manual install. So you will take the untrust and you will trust it yourself. You're taking everything into your own hands rather than third parties. So again, if people want, like I said, they can get these royal wraps. These are like just a couple $100. We can put stuff in here where water and fractals you can go on. And then my favorite one as well, you can see the plates you can get. You can also get an Odyssey. And this is only a couple $100. And Carol, they all interface with stuff, whether you want bracelets, you want head stuff, you want crystals, all of these things you can go into. And this is one of my most favorite things is actually this Odyssey that they came out with. It's basically where the healing, the AO and all the Solex, this is with a knockoff, but this was the original one that's been out for like 15 years. So, and we upgrade. The other thing too that was really nice is a lot of people don't realize we get all these different libraries and stuff, and that's where I can go in and customize. So I can take any library and take any substance in the world, put it on my plate. Let's say go out and pick my stuff that I've, nurtured with my own water, with my own energy, my maybe saliva, like Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars of Russia, and put it on my plate and gotten the vibration, the sound wave. And then I can feed it back to myself or to the water or something. And so we use a lot of this, let's say for where you're getting into permaculture and biodynamics. I take my seeds and put them on those plates, right? And then you can potentize them because again, as we know, most things are getting contaminated in the air. So this is a great way to put your plants on, and re-energize it. So, I thought, I don't know if you want to look at anything else or if you want to do a quick little scan, I could just show you that. Or if someone's interested in that, we could try that. So,
yeah, let's do a scan. Just
okay. Let's take a look at what we have here. So they can go onto phones, they can go into tablets, and they can go into iPads. Okay. And unless you got a really high level Mac PC, they don't go into PCs. So I want you to see that I run this a lot. This is my emergency one. So I actually run the Rife here. And I also run the Odyssey and a few other things. Now, this is the simplest version. This is why this is like under $200.
Mhm.
You can go to anything you want here. Let's say you've got acupuncture field. You want to do sound acupuncture, like for your chakras, or you got adhesions. Let's say you said you had adhesions. So I could go there and just hit play. And then I can either do them with bracelets with neodymium, special harmonic ones, or you could just put headphones in for your bone conductors. Or I could plug it into my plates. So that's the simplest form. This is, again, running up to 20,000 hertz. This is not the little thing you're going to listen to on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is an actual, again, on here. So this is really cool to use. And then the other one that we have, the Odyssey, I'll switch over onto the mainframe here because I want people to see that there's something for everyone. Because a lot of people go, I don't know what I'm doing. Just have to shut this off because right now I've got this connected into here. But this can be really,
1,000 gadgets.
I've always liked the little toys, but there's a lot to be said for this, right?
Yeah,
When
exactly.
you do it appropriately. And what happens in here is that when you have the toys, they do not have to be scary. This is not the AI.
Yeah.
You can still have assisted intelligence or flip it the other way. And so in here, I want you to see how simple. We'll do a really quick one here, and I'm just going to show people how simple this is. I'm not the most techie in the world, even though I deal with tech. And some of this I have co-developed. So Ryan gives us the cake, the software, and each one of us can actually write and overwrite into the software. Okay, so I'm not going to be going into a room and not knowing what someone is blaring at me or getting sick because other people are in there or it's a disharmonic frequency. We've had people go into these energy rooms and get worse.
Like the one in Dallas, I think you know who I mean, with all the big television screens or computer screens with these lights.
Exactly. And I go back,
bombarding.
I do the background check and see that you are actually the Grand Dame for the Knights of Hospitality from the Knights of St. John from the Knights of Malta, which is connected to the Jesuits. So you are in contract with that. And that's the difference with Scalar. You got to know who you're dealing with. Because you can have like I don't want to say a false healing. It's like the illusion or a fact. A fact is not the truth. A fact is the legal word that means appears as.
Yeah.
They're selling you something back and not always in the best way. So here, I'm just going to have you say the vowels really slowly. A, E, I, O, U. I'm just going to hit record. Go.
A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U.
That wasn't difficult, was it? So there's the second button underneath.
Again. A, E, I, O, U.
Great. So we're going to go to next. And basically, you can see there's all these things. There's nutrition, there's rebooting, terrain, cold, sleeping, energy alignments, higher selves. And we'll just give you an idea. Let's say you wanted to look at hormones or digestion or well-being or pain. Let's say you wanted to go into a detox here. So let's just quickly open up the detox. You expand it and look at all the things you can go into here. So basically, rather than a genius where I can look at, vitamin this, mineral this, B2, whatever I'm testing, this just gives me a blanket thing. So I can go into anything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that voice scan. Now we're going to scan all these departments. And you're going to go shopping and pick out what you want. Therapy. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Scanning this way for someone. So as I go in and I'm going, what does she want? There's some fungus. And look at that. Out of everything, fungus. Well, you've picked out a bit there. Okay. So you've picked out to boost an energy cleanse, a deep cleanse. So it's like doing a parasite cleanse, a bioterrain. Okay. You've gone to also boosting up a lot of mucus. So stuff, biofilm, whatever, lungs and bronchial, and then fungus. And I mean, up here, even we've got 4 different types of snow mold or funguses. So, I mean, this is what you've done. So we're going to go to the playlist. So you've picked out all these things that you wanted for us.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the playlist and literally one button says start. And away you go.
Wow. Yeah, we can't hear you talk. I think when the machine is running.
You turn that down. So let's say I wanted to convert this into light. It will take the sound away and then it will start pulsing lights. Okay, so now it's switched over to the light machine. So you can put this on wherever you want. A lot of times I will do this, Carol, and put this along my ankle or something. And then I with my house, whatever housework or do whatever I want. I used to do this when things people start getting locked down, are a little bit more weird. I put this into my purse and I put this around me and then I went out shopping because it keeps that energy field around us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so this is called the Odyssey. And so, like I said, like one's 150, this is like 350 US. So it's not that much. And so this is an amazing thing. So you're using like all the zappers and all these high-tech stuff right there.
So it's one of the only things you need to replace a lot of other older, because there was, all the different zappers and stuff like that,
Yeah, and this
What's
is a
the
fun,
other one?
yeah, and this is a fun thing. So I'm gonna go back and we'll take a look at the other one we have, which is the Genius, which is where, and again, you don't have to be a therapist, but we do have certification classes. We do actually, even Deb does them, we do them, and you don't have to have stuff, but we teach you real basics because I think that's important. So the next one we have in here is going into the Genius. And this is the more advanced. Okay, so like I said, you don't need to be a doctor or nurse. Okay, usually we have to retrain them anyway. Okay, so I want you to think of it, it's very much like as they talk about the regenerative things, they're biohacking your field. And this to me is part of my biofield, what we need to go into here. Okay, so very simple. I can go into here and we will
So
go in.
is the Odyssey part of the Genius?
Nope, it's a totally different app. So this is like I don't want to do, but I want to do it. Right? So if I go, oops, back into here, what will happen? And again, you're going to smudge out or clear. So whoever was in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, I can't remember if we've got you in here. Let me just take here. We're going to go and begin a new scan. And I could go to see, you can keep files or not keep files. Okay. Totally up to people. And I usually don't. Oh, look at you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can edit it. I can do all sorts of stuff, but we're just going to start a new analysis right now. Okay, so I'm going to have you just do the same thing again, A-E-I-O-U. So go for 15 seconds. I'm hitting the microphone.
A-E-I-O-U, 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 A-E-I-O-U.
Got it. So I want you to see, you don't have to know a damn thing about programming. It says select the voice harmonics button below. Oh, tells me even what to do. Okay, so I just go to the bottom left and I'm hitting this voice harmonics. So again, the voice is being taken in, we're putting on an algorithm. And so this is no different than going into a store and muscle testing or allergy testing. So you're running your voice against all the known signatures. So I'm going to go to next. And let's say if someone was a coma, I just skip, or you could prompt skip. So again, this is called fast 4NA. If you want to look at what it is, or you want to call Ryan Williams and ask him how he did it, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
He's pretty open to teaching on this stuff. So we're going to continue. There you were last time.
Yeah.
And you got a short sleeve, almost the same. So we're going to go in again, and I'm going to just get that picture of you here today, not me. The light workers. Nice smile, Carol. There we go. Okay, so new and improved.
Yeah.
Okay, so just going to hit the begin analysis. And I want people to see how easy it is. Okay? That's why I don't need to have, and that's why I don't have health cards anymore. Okay, so if you want to make a positive affirmation, like all my cells vibrate at what would you like as an affirmation?
Oh, I vibrate to harmony and peace within.
Okay. Okay. You can do whatever you want. Some people say I vibrate at 528, I vibrate whatever, on my Cell Divine template, whatever you want. One button. That's it. Okay. Remember the old days? I would sit there for like an hour punching all the different
Yeah.
codes, hooking people up, and it took me like, half an hour just to do all this stuff. It is done in seconds now. Done. Okay, so we can go to any category and we can go shopping for your vitamins. I'm going to open up a tray. So it's like going shopping. I'm just going to add all the red things in here. So boom, right then and there, I've got all the vitamins and minerals that you need. If you're low in something, then we're going to pull those blue ones. So I'm going to move the tray back. So these are the ones that might be in excess. And these are the ones that are deficient, hypo. Okay. So we just want everything back into center point or that type of thing. So you're going to go into every category. There's glands, digestion. Look at all the herbs. So this is you muscle testing yourself, saying, hey, I should get these like herbs. So I'm going to put these herbs in, boom, there they are. So if I wanted to make something, again, I could make them like a tea, or I could imprint them, or I could imprint this into the water and take it as a tea. And this is where it gets really fun. So this is where I was saving my clients thousands of dollars in supplements, or I could actually put this supplement onto the tray, get that frequency of it here,
Yeah.
and then they don't have to buy it again.
Wow.
Okay. So there's a kind of fun things to do. Let's go into herbs. I'm big into looking at minerals, chemical pollution, all sorts of things. So there's sulfates, but what's really low in you is the chlorine, the molybdenum, the cobalt, the chromium, blood sugars, right? Magnesium, zinc. This is where I start seeing what is the thing. So where they're talking, this is all the, with the doctors that are saying, well, you need to have this nicotine patch and this and whatever, because it's the zinc, it's the this and that. It's from the tapeworms, it's from the parasites eating it. This is why they're low. They're going after certain things like the zinc and all these things. So Dr. Debbie Drake and a lot of us know that it's due to the parasites. So if we clean that out, and get you alkaline, and so they can't keep laying their eggs, well, hey, that's why it takes 3 to 6 months to clean this.
Yeah.
Essential are amazing, and electrical sensitivities, metallic implants that picked up on you already. But let's say I don't want to go to a chiropractor. I could go and look at my spine and see what's going on. Chiropractors use this all the time. There are psychics that are charging $200, $300, $400 an hour. And I've just dealt with some of them and their clients in the last couple of weeks again, right? They're doing this for people not even telling them. And they're charging them $400 to read in the background that you could be doing at home. And I find that's just a total sham and a total fraud. Where people are saying, oh, I'm going to do an energy clearing on you, right? And clearing your aura field because you've got entities on you and you're being taken nightly to some reptilian base or great. There are people doing this and they're making a lot of money on the circuits, these days.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but I wanted to show you here, if I went into and just looked at the spine and just wanted to see what was inflamed again, we're going to remember that chiropractic chart, right? You don't need to know it because it's in here, right? L3s to your bladder, this goes to the eyes. It can tell you right away, or where are all the pinched nerves. So all I have to do, rather than going to see the chiropractor, is hit quick balance. And we'll start sending the frequencies. Very cool. So usually 5 minutes, you're starting to go, you start feeling the tingling. When you're on here, even at a distance, are you starting to notice a few things? You probably are over there. I'm big on essential oils, as you know, because they're just more potent. I mean, I can use the sage, I can burn it, I can make sage tea, I can grind it up. I can do a lot of things with it, but in an essential oil, much more powerful, or use the essential oil with your actual herbs. They'll be much more powerful. So there again, I could just go like this and make an aromatherapy. That not wonderful? And again, that's just with the base stuff. So what I want to do, then there's the mental part. So what came up for you is physical, mental, emotional. So just to go back here, your physical body, you're telling me there's some hormones out of place. There's some organs that we need to look at. Again, what's in hyperdrive? What's the lowest functioning right now? Where do we need to focus? So obviously the brain, There could be some, again, being hit with different radiations, ozone, CMEs, whatever. But then it will go in, okay, well, what's then going to be the oil? So that will tell me the oil. And then I could go into how is it affecting the EEG, right? So without doing a 12 lead, there's always going to be emotions connected to it. So we could go do an emotional release. And then let's say some people like Bach flowers. So we're going to be giving you a little bit of everything today. And then we can go right into, again, let's say the biofield. This is where I do, similar to Sabrina, I do the regular stuff too. So if people want just regular, whatever, energy and medical intuitive, I do that all the time. You know, but let's say I want to go look at that. What's in traditional Chinese medicine? I just went like this and you told me what's going on. You're also telling me how to fix it until you can get your own advice into it. But there's a gallbladder meridian, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
I have
there's
no gallbladder.
okay, so that also will make sense because there's some that there's basically no energy going through. Remember, just because the gallbladder is here, right, and they take this section out, then what's going to happen? You still have all the other connections.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been doing stuff like liver gallbladder flushes or anything, but here's another way of doing a liver gallbladder. Or instead of going to the acupuncture and doing it. So this is sound acupuncture. And of course, our favorite thing in here, people know what solfeggio tones are.
Mhm.
So we can do it like the tuning forks. We could also do a chakra realignment, which is, and of course, I happen to like going into the aura field. So right now with one,
Instead of going to Gloria Bieber, I always say it wrong. Justin's aunt. Remember her? Oh,
that's right, I had this going.
oh, okay.
Going, what did you say? Going to where?
To Gloria. Remember, she did all the auras. Bieber, like Justin Bieber's aunt.
This is what we can do at home. So again, there's some energy that's stuck, it's dense. What I want to see is that outer ring, because the outer ring is what's getting hit right now with all the different radiation and dirty electricity. Okay, or someone's been shed on or something like that. I want to strengthen up the field. So like I said, I put those patches on the other day and it all went brown and black. And I went, I ain't doing that again. It knocked out my protection. It knocked out my bubble out here. So this is how you read iridology. This is how you read tongue. And this is how you read live blood cell. Okay, so we just kind of going to move you out of the way. So I have a couple different ways to look at the cameras. Okay, so on one side there's in, but deeper as we're getting into something, there's some energy stuck. So that's all we want to do. And again, it
Is
changes
that
all
the
the
brown? The brown? Is that the
Yeah.
energy? Because
Yeah,
what?
brown and the orange, I want to get in there. And especially that yellowy kind of stuff is going on there. So I just want to switch that later. So once we start doing that, now I'm going to show you, and again, there's a thing, see, you know, spiritual protection. Just even the thought of saying you want everything negative cleared. Okay. Anything that's around, and again, entities can literally be that tapeworm, that candida. Don't make it any weirder than it has to be. Okay. An actual candida, albicans or tropicanus, or an Epstein-Barr, or whatever it might be. Okay. Those are all part of it. And again, some stuff in there. So we could just do that. What I'm going to show you, we have things for pain and all sorts of things. These are the libraries. This is the stuff that I co-wrote. So Ryan gives me the first, I don't know, 30,000 frequencies, and then I've made the rest. I'm going to show you one that my colleague made, Dr. Deborah Drake, and she teaches every week at I Love My Genius.
Mhm.
But let's say I go into the library, so I'm just going to drop down this menu. I'm going to look at what's called a master branch, and she's made some incredible libraries here called the BioTrain. Okay, where have you ever gone to a doctor and tested for this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is
But
in the
in all 5 minutes that they see you?
yeah, exactly. And so in all 5 minutes, that's why we could go in and start just doing a parasite instead of doing things like pour stuff up your butt. So this is again, what's in the food, air and water. Doesn't mean it's in your blood. That's why blood can look clean and the rest of us, you saw, is not. So there's a lot of different things in here that we're in contact with, and that includes animals and pets we're having to do these days. Bioterrain could be a detox, so you can see specifically how we've got the actual hertz in here that you would see rife codes. Okay, and so again, your mold is coming up. So this is actually something I want to add all those molds in.
Well, that's
Because-
because, there's a lot of mold here in houses and stuff in the
Yeah.
jungle. It doesn't bother me, like, I don't think it does. Like, some people are really sensitive to it. But maybe if you clear it, I'll be sensitive to it.
Well, what's going to happen here is that, I want to get some of the remedies in here.
Yeah.
So it's giving me some of the remedies that you do need, actually. So you've already gone into the department store and picked some of this stuff up. And so we got food poisoning, funguses, bioterrain, and then some of the different things that's actually kind of nice in here is that we can go in and just say, whoa, what's some different things we can finish, maybe some lactobacillus or, a probiotic. So prebiotics, things like that. So this is kind of fun to get in here and start doing. So we can also look in, let's say for someone to prime. So it's like going in doing a mineral or supplement. So in here it says we want to do the conception vessel. We're going to bring up some of like the nitrogen a bit, your thoracic 5, thoracic 11, grounding, some serotonin, Celtic salt. So maybe you need a little bit more Celtic salt, a dandelion root, and it tells me some different things we could do here for you.
I just bought dandelion root from the farmer last week.
See,
and I've never bought it before.
See, this is the thing, how we actually intrinsically know our own stuff, but this is bringing to your remembrance or to your forefront from the subconscious to the conscious saying, you know what? You already picked it out, because that's the first thing we've gone into here. And it said, you know what? Give her that. So I'm dumping all these remedies in, including your root. But this is the coolest thing about this. And once we go into these libraries, let's say if people have pain or they have diabetes, all you do is you type in the condition, go to the kind of pain or whatever's going on here, or whatever condition. Let's say we've got stuff for physical, mental, emotional, all sorts of things. I have one here, like I said, sexual abuse, ritual abuse, my labs, all sorts of things are built in. Those are the other ones in here. But let's say you need to look at something. There's something, we've got children starting to transgender. This is for helping young children. Okay. If there's any kind of lesbian or homosexual or going into that, ICAR codes, we're Nikki codes, which was part of the MK Ultra project. This is really deep stuff I'm doing in here. Blood cords, stuff that's to do with rituals and stuff like that. So a lot of people don't realize when someone is abused, it's affecting an acupuncture point. So you'll see me using a certain, conception vessel number 5, right? And then use a certain oil. So it will actually start working on some of these points. Or
so it would, what would it do to someone like a kid wanting to change over, transgender?
This is where we're going into this. That's a great question. So
what's the emotion behind it would be, or what are they lacking?
Exactly.
Trying to, replace.
Yep, absolutely. So we can go in there and start seeing, is there trauma, post-traumatic stress, anxiety? What is the underlying cause of this? Okay, a lot of this had to do with injections and chemicalizations and atrazines and all sorts of things, the Marisols. We could give a whole list of like 70,000 things they've put in there. But what happens if we can start rebalancing the children this way? I have a lot of moms doing this for their children. And I have a lot of grandparents doing it for their grandchildren because they realize what we're up against. This is a spiritual war, we might say on them. But
it's frequencies, like really, that's the more than even, well, they're working on frequencies. Because I see it as a electromagnetic field, right? Yeah. And connecting to the herbs and the ground is connecting to the magnetic field, right? And that's got to come up through us.
For sure. And like, is this something, is it an emotional thing? Is it mental? It's all the above, right? So this is where it starts helping to identify, because of the hormones being, and again, it's more for, I must say, as opposed to transgendering, it's more of a neutralization, as in basically that they're trying to make them into like a Baphomet, right? The
Yeah.
idea, bottom line, is to eradicate that, all those energetic, remember I showed you all those bloodlines and types?
Yeah.
That's what they're going for, right? And to take out your lineage, right? And it's not about money, it's about DNA. And so what happens in here, you can start seeing then, is there a radiation detox? Okay. How the children were done, let's say, on a lot of these games and stuff like that, how it affected the brain on here. So optimization, how it's affected the dopamine, the serotonin, and then I can go right back into, let's say, a hormone balancing. So that's a great question. So in here, we can start looking, what's the underlying causes? One, the acidity, because all heavy metals injected, which way, aerosol absorbed, you're using Dawn instead of seventh generation cleaning or borax, whatever.
Yeah.
You've absorbed that, right? And so this is a great way to put them back. Now, one of the quickest things I can do is actually just go to system overview. And this is what I call the, don't have to go in here. I'm just going to show what it's doing. I'm going to add all the top 50 things and then the bottom blue. So again, red is from 600 to 800 here, basically. It says again, number one coming up, oil, sage. Okay. So I'm going to remove all those libraries, the extra stuff that I showed you afterwards, but we go back to the base program, sage, orange, different fruits. There's that gallbladder thing again happening. And again, it can be referred much to remove an organ part, or in my case, I've had dental trauma, right? And every tooth is wired. And every time we lose a tooth or have an injury, it's affecting the alignment, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing people, like I said, cataracts that don't need to be, or things like that. Again, we can start picking them up here. So I'm just going to actually add all these incredible things for you and go shopping. So in your main hold tray, I put 322 items. It's like going shopping here for you. Right? No one can afford to go do all these things. So just pick up, stuff in here. So you can move the timer wherever you want. This could make it work at 0 all night. I can move it for a few minutes and just start playing with these things, top and bottom. Or because I'm curious, I'm going to hit that little play sign. Now here I can go check all the things here I want, or just hit all the red ones, all the medium colored ones, or all the blue ones. And eventually, after we're done with our session and we've played it for you, I could then export it to the capsule and put your email in here, and now you can listen to it for a week.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Okay, that a lot of therapists like to do that. We'll do a session, but you can listen to it, 24/7. And again, you can have it plugged in here, running in your house all day, and just keep it on low, and just go to it, right? Or just have my meals. A lot of times I'll put my food and my water on there. So that's what we're doing. And so literally, I am just going to go in. It's interesting. The number one thing in here is that all psychic attack is being cleared.
Oh, good.
Because you're on the forefront, that's what came up. There's some different sporidiums and stuff like that. Things happen, nitrogen, again, different chemicals, oxytocin. Again, we are dealing and it's not that we have to have dysfunctional sexual behavior. We are dealing with clients that are having that.
Yeah.
And that's coming in, and we're seeing a lot of that right now. So it's just that it's in our field. So it doesn't mean that we're taking it on. It means that it's something that you're dealing with as well. Or we're looking at a different way. If someone is having dysfunctional behaviors, again, using these things like I talked about, using steam. Again, they're blocking everyone's acupuncture meridians, and in the lower couple chakras especially. They want to disconnect this and the heart. They're really going after the heart on the children. And so this is where I focus on, right? And
that dysfunctional sexual behavior can also be because we're watching so much, or I am, of what's really going out there in the world with the children. And it's like we take it to heart almost. You almost like sucking it in. And this is what we need to clear on this planet. That is the problem, is sexual behavior, the dysfunction of it. And we're horrified with what we're seeing, right?
And this is the whole thing I got in when I really got into, I was like, oh, Dai Boja Baba. Yeah. Anyway, what happened is that there's a great set of books. I don't know if you read them. They were called Anastasia. I guess they still are called that, but Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars of Russia. Okay. Those are my ancestors. This is my bloodline. Okay. And what happens in there, we're from the original bloodlines, not the people that came in or the different draconian or ET races and stuff that came later. Okay. Or hybridizations. Okay. So what happens in there is that in Anastasia, they talk about the telegony. They talk about the pure essential difference of how to go in and court, not dating. How did you handfest, not get wedded with a contract? How did you go to mate and then procreate? These are essential things that people know and have to learn again. The difference between love versus lust.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between courting, which may take several months or a year, some people too, because they have to clear out a lot of this baggage.
Yeah.
Remember the exponential, like, if you've been with 12 people or someone's been with 12 people, and all your ancestors, it's a mixture of close to 5,000 energy signatures.
Yeah.
And we know
Well,
that.
that's what in my online program we have, like I go chakra by chakra, right? Clearing it, and basically there's one exercise you got to write down every person you slept with and cut the cords. One woman, she says, Carol, I had to stop at 349. I said, oh my God. I says, well, just put question marks and cut the cords, but it's where do you feel it in the body and cut those cords. And that's very much because everyone they've slept with and they've slept with and they've slept with, it's like
Yeah.
this web, right? And you want to clear that and move it out of our energy field so much, like actually feeling it in the body that it is leaving and it clears it out. And yeah.
Perfect what you have behind you, or my lattice there, a little bit more screen meshing and stuff and protection, but the lattice that you have behind there is that mesh. We can extrapolate it. And I've been spending some great time speaking with people like Sabrina and Tony Pantalashko, but Ryan Velli just did actually Project Camelot. Then he was on Nino's Corner, and he's got his own BitChute channel now. It's called Natural Intelligence versus Artificial Intelligence. But Ryan's
What's
done
his
some
name? Ryan who?
Ryan Velli, Veli.
Velli. Okay. I've watched almost everything Nino, like I'm on his back channel, right? So
take a look at what Ryan, just type in. So he's probably our best kept secret up here. He's kind of like Pascal Najati. Like, Pascal's, like I said, there are things that people are not always aware of. They will go to criticize. I've dealt with people, you have too, that we've had, as you can do regenerative beds, you can do soul to soul transfer. You can do age regression. You can actually bring in ancestors before and different things as well, or integrate, which can be like walk-ins to skinwalkers, to possessions, to having oversoul connections. And so I was listening to Pascal recently, right? And he's saying Abraham Lincoln, JFK, and now something happened on May 9th, like an oversoul connection. And there's connections he's hearing between JFK, talking to maybe John. Is this true? We're not in those people's bodies. There's other things that happen as well. And then you start looking at some of the different things. He's talking about Valiant Thor. And one of the few people outside of me I've talked about too is the 5-star Arcturian generals. So there's some interesting information being in there. But Ryan Velli was on these shows because he was trying to get it on. And there was actually with him one. And, and the reason why is because he was at the Los Angeles, the Biomedical Expo that a friend of mine, Eric Dadmer, is the MC for. And so many years ago, I spoke at those conferences when I was first getting on the circuit. And it was 5D events, biomedical, all the new tech coming out, and they had the alien event as well. But Ryan was there and he was sounding the alarm because he's out of Montreal. As people don't know that, that's Quebec, as people in the Anishinaabe territories and Mohawk. But anyway, he's up there and he was military police for Canada and the States. He taught at universities and he's an academic lecturer, but he's the cybersecurity and also part of the National Guard for the Canadian and American. Now, he's one of the best ex-vets I've ever talked, and I've been talking with him. He has been sounding the alarm on what's going on with the Jade 2 and the Skynet. And that's what Carrie Cassidy and other people like Ashiana Dean and a lot of people have been talking about. Like what you got is that Skynet and how those biosensors in us are attaching. And even a candida is a sensor, and like I said, I was talking with a lot of people, they just don't realize what's going on with the 15-minute cities, the smart cities, the resilient cities. They don't realize what is going on with the CERN, the synchrotron, the LHC, and Ryan, like Sabrina and Tony, and there are others as well, but he's probably one of the ones that's got the check because they were inside. And these are the people that were putting these things together that have now come up and started saying, hey guys, this is not kosher. We're on the side of humanity, and I started explaining like I have to a lot because a lot of people, they're into this republic, they're into their presidents, they're into their prime ministers, and they just get ticked off and want to put someone else, and they keep giving people a choice from some political party. When in truth, there were people here, there still are people here. People came over here that were supposed to live with those peace treaties. I don't care about the Canadian because there's no Bill of Rights, there's no anything, there's no constitution. They did this deliberately to show people you're on false grounds. And we have to remember that the people that came in, those founding fathers, basically stole ideas or adaptations from the Six Nations that were already here, and the seventh being like Canada, right?
Mhm.
But what happened in here, or the French and this and that, I said, you don't get it. There were 12 different major bloodlines here, and I'm not talking to the Illuminati ones.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking the original Star Nations, right? Those 13th Star Nations were here. And so what happened is that then they brought their Roman senators, then they brought the founding Grand Masters, and then they brought their Jesuits called the military with their law of war manuals. But let's do remember that this land was never sold to them anywhere, and so the land still sits in a alloidial trust for those clan mothers to administer. And we'll see if they're going to turn the coffers over. You got to remember all the gold, all the silver, all those minerals are sitting on original people's lands that never gave them to these private corporations to back anything with. So this is where we'll see what will happen. But, even with, people, is there really an RV? Is it really this? Is it really bricks? Is it, where are we going? The original law was to gift and then barter. They
That
didn't.
was Saint Germain, right? Trust. I mean, that's what I was reading back in early 200s or whatever you want, 2000s, 2000. And I know I was in Calgary already, so it was 2006 probably.
Sure. We were
Somewhere in
talking
there.
about this, you and I were talking about these kind of ideas and the concepts like 20 years ago. It wasn't, I was with Winston Shroud and Rob Menard and all these other, and it's all crap because that's not how the thing went. And so until we get those back, I see even here the idea of what they're doing. My cousin is Sean Buckley, who's the lead bar counsel and lawyer for the National Citizens Inquiry, which is Canada's response to all the injection crap, right, in the last 4 years of hell. But they've been
Sean
doing
Buckley, that's your cousin? I think
see the resemblance.
Yeah. Well, I think I know the name. He was on the news a lot, right? Or during the truckers. I think he was brought in.
Yeah, anything that has to do, he formed the Natural Health Protection Association, and he is actually was in Kamloops, but we actually grew up together, only a few blocks apart, actually.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, so if you take a look in here, I'll just show it to you because I think it's worth. There's a lot of stuff going on that he's been involved with. David and Colette Stefan, people that were accused. They're trying to take away stuff, but that's actually Sean.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see, you can see kind of a, I look more like my cousin than I do my other siblings, quite frankly. But that whole National Citizens Inquiry is about finding out what happened to people. But we do have to remember that you're still dealing with the bar, the British accredited register, which is being dissolved, right? You got to remember they're technically enemies of the nations right now because these people are without treaties. And when you are, and I'm not talking an alien from Mars, well, I could be, or Venetian, or I know a Vega, like a vegan. And I said, you don't even know what a vegan is. They're from Vega and Lyra and Epsilon, but I was talking about that and I said, you need to look at where things are going at and where our ancestors came out of. And we had something, I have something called the Noah's Arcturian or Noah's Ark treaty. Someone might have Solomon's seal. You hear Scott McKay used to talk about the peace pipe and the whole hatchet, right? What they talked about is that it was actually a peace pipe. On the bottom end was actually the hatchet. So when the clan mother said, we are at peace, they all smoked the peace pipe, right?
Yeah.
They put their Canid or whatever else in. I don't do things like that myself, but anyway, and what will happen is that if they were at war, which we're at wartime, those wartime chiefs and all those tribes are actually, a lot of them in the military. And so they've been called into action, because when you have the international status, like those star nations, 13, and then what happens underneath them is like second or middle world or whatever you want to call corpus juris secundum, dead people, because they've decided that they wanted to traitor and go for the money. And this is like literally with that Hopi of Mayan prophecy. So the spiritual people, or the people still want to stay in alignment with the peace treaties that Gaia and the councils have set up for us. We are up here. And so we actually override all that. So, and law is oral. So if you actually look at the original map of North America.
Law is what? Law is what?
The original map of North America.
Yeah, you said law is oil? No.
Oral.
Oral, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's not written. So everyone
Yeah.
goes, well, show me this. I said, like, please. Your mom didn't like get a piece of paper. Like, just because someone else they should take a birth certificate and sell you off. We didn't do that, So, but yeah, if you look at that, and then when you lost further status, like in a prisoner of war camp called a powwow, which is called a band of reserve, they're called inhabitants. So the first thing is like nobility is savagery, which means we're decolonized. We're not civilized, right? We're not in contract with that. And what happened over these years in 2013, the last of those draconian and illegal alien treaties that people like Eisenhower made, okay, were without the blessing and the agreement of those clan mothers. So these are a bunch of renegade pirates that went off and made these bad boys contracts, which we don't have to adhere to.
Yeah.
And this is why, we start looking at stuff, and you look at a lot of the scriptural or the biblical stuff, you're going to see Tartarian mud flood. You're going to see that the hub of actually what was written about scripturally and everything else is on this continent, primarily Mexico and in the different things like Guatemala and stuff like that. So all those things, and you can see it in every scripture from Latter-day Saints to the Book of Enoch to any of the missing, like the 777 books, which I've almost read, I think almost every one of them now. But, it doesn't matter. It's the Pseudepigraphica, the Apocrypha, the Maccabees, the Book of the War of the Lords, the Esteemed Gospel of Peace. There's a great plethora of information out there. And again, you have to use discernment.
Yeah.
So like I said, people can make books all they want. Doesn't matter. They could, whatever they want, does not mean it's that. And I'm not into the ghost spelling or to spell or to cast this crap. So this is where special forces, the United States Space Force is over every other military. So hopefully we can have them. They're in peace activation, peacekeeping mode.
I want to go back to Pascal, though. You said something. What is it that he's channeling these through, or is it an overlay? How I thought of, he's probably, maybe the consciousness has tapped in, right? He's tapped into the consciousness of JFK, or it's not the physical body. And people, it's just because it's quite out there because of, Carrie Cassidy and him having it out. I haven't listened to it, but a friend of mine had, Chelsea, she was doing a little video on it. So
I would post stress from that one. Yeah, I saw it. And I
Oh.
do. I'm in communication with him as well. Okay, I've actually done several shows with him. I'm on part of the medical team. So anyway, but he has one, his is actually called Neutral Swiss on here. And what he's talking about, like you said, is people take Christ consciousness into the consciousness. Or the other thing too, because different people, like he was, right? He was Swiss Army Air Defense. He's got such a huge background. It's amazing actually when you talk to him and to Isabel. But, and I knew I was very involved back like years ago when this first came out, because he went to the local police. I went to the local police. I went to report a crime. I went to Saskatoon City Police. I was at Kamloops. I was at the RCMP talking to Staff Sergeant Mike Savage saying, hey, we got a problem. Not only that, I'm going to add a queen that apparently came in here and took some more children. And by the way, these people and all her agents are coming after me and my children. That's not going to happen. That's got to be stopped. That's an act of war when you're, as you think, and again, there's no Canadian Constitution and all this criminal code stuff, right? Non-applicable. What happens is that when they come against us, it's an act of war, and then we can prosecute them for treason and high treason for violating of the international treaties, right? I really don't care what they write in their criminal codes. It's irrelevant to me, just like their birth certificates and their licenses and permits. But what he has done is he also went in with one of the other lawyers way back when, and there was me and Astrid Stuckelberger and other people involved. I was the one that brought Dr. Robert Young on board on some of this stuff. Some of the international judge councils, tribal councils as well, we met with, and tribal judges. And what we did is it went in on every level because people you can't do group actions and you have to represent yourself. But they went in also to New York City and he filed in with against Pfizer. And then the other thing that they did as well, in there, it was hand delivered. Like I had mine hand delivered here. I also had mine hand delivered into the inner city of London. So I just did mine in 2013. He's kind of doing the same thing 11 years later. But what also happened is that the Swiss president, they have several there, but Alain Berset was actually stepped down because we started making waves. And again, enough to start doing it, but you have to file it in. And that's what we said. Right now, when you're in a wartime and you've got basically your commander in chief, you go to the military police to report crimes. We did it on all levels. That's the difference what he and I both did, and that's why I met with every 3-letter agency later. But that's what he's talking about. It's 2 souls, 2 leaders. So it's an integration, or like you said, a tapping into what Pascal's doing. Okay. And so whether you can take it or leave it or not, but there's a lot of symbolism and stuff in here. He did several movies and stuff like that. And I know he's been on TruStream and a lot of stuff. It's very controversial for a lot of people, but I can go back in and take a look at some of the stuff I've done with him. Right. I did one on Guardians of Humanity, just like I did with Carrie Cassidy and other shows, TruStream as well, that we wanted, because to me, it's about protecting and saving the children. And it's not just about humanity. It's about not just our lineage. Right. And so, they have definitely, targeted myself and my children, when they couldn't get me, or break me down. The next thing they do is they go for the children, right? And again, this is where it's got to stop, because we're getting down to, we figure, probably 3 to 5% of the population.
Of what?
Right.
That's
savable, genetic, intact gene prints, unmutated.
Pure-blooded.
We can argue that, but the mtDNA, and again, the knowledge is still in there.
Yeah.
You actually are like a computer, and when they've, as Santa Panache would say, they buggered up your RAM and your Aries and like your Capricorn or whatever. But when you've gotten into here and you don't know the astrotheology, and when I ask people, it's like a police officer would come up and say, are you a peacekeeper? Are you an oath keeper? Are you whatever? But think different things, because again, there are key words, whether they called it the language of the angels or the right sounds. Again, there are key words in there, just like when they ask what's your name in court, they're asking what your slave ID is, and what's your record, this and that, and are you swearing on a Bible? That's already, they got you into the position of what those things are. It's quite ironic that we've had to come to this point. But on the other side, as all this light starting to pour in finally,
I watched something this morning with on Goodline TV with Nick, right?
Yeah.
And he just put out, I think it's a new one. It's The Invisible Enemy. And he's bringing up a lot about Greenland and how the 2 countries, Greenland and Switzerland, are the most neutral countries that nobody hears of, and how that cover of the ice field comes in, and what's probably underneath that ice field. And so it was very interesting. It was early this morning, so I'll probably have to watch it again just to get the full spectrum of it. But it was Yeah, it's just he's just brought it out. I think it's one of his new ones because I haven't heard him talk about this, and I've watched a lot of his movies, like documentaries. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's funny because again, I take everything kind of like, with a bit of a grain of salt. I mean, how can we not these days?
yeah. I just
And
say stay respectful and stay open. Just anything is possible, and everyone has an opinion, and just like we're entitled to. So I think it is really important that we just stay open, right? And listen to it all and see what resonates.
well, what was interesting is this is my X, or as people think the old Twitter, but X. These are some of the things too, when we go in and you start looking at what's going on here. Okay, so I'm looking at Steiner stuff, and you said like, all sorts of
Mhm.
stuff that's being open, like from like health stuff. Kath is amazing too, going in here. But there is so many different things. One of the things I've been following a lot is actually the Zeta talks. And because this is Earthwatch right now, I mean, and I'm on Mr. MB3 and 3 and Earth Masters, Earthwatch, Skywatch, you name it, Dutch Sing. I mean, there isn't too many people I haven't connected to, Monkey Works. I watch them all. Derek has got great stuff. Johnson, we're, checking all the Gitmo flights and stuff. Important to keep, your minds in here. But what I'm looking for, if people, I'm not sure if you've ever looked at this, but Zeta Talk was
I was on Pole Shift and Earth Changes back since 2006. I bought all the flints. They're all here too, the extra stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, I love their Telegram also. I'm not on X that much. I never have. I mean, I'll look, but I'm not active because I never have been. But I am, yeah, I follow them also, but more on Telegram and key into what they're because Telegrams, they're always posting all the earthquakes.
yeah, like Yellow Rose for Texas, as you can see here, what you're taking a look at here is they're showing you the pole shift. What they're showing right now is every little train derailment,
Hmm.
every sinkhole, every methane explosion, the amount of water, gas, and pipelines exploding, especially on the Madrid fault line, is off the charts. Okay, little quakes are showing up all over the place. Military we know is like got their planes and everything going. Now we know that they're off the key. So I don't look in terms of Canada, States, and Russia, right? You got to go back to the bloodlines. They're protecting different things here. What you're seeing, and aside from whatever you want, but this
Yeah.
is one of the sites for getting every sinkhole and what's going on. So once you start connecting these dots, what's going on here, it's absolutely massive.
Yeah, the whole Quebec ones, that to split the St. Lawrence and coming down through Lake Erie, like through some of the Great Lakes. And
Right, what we call the future shift or the Navy map or Michael Scallion's maps and different things. When you go back to some of the original Tartarian maps, like before Paris Race and all that, right? Those territories, as Anastasia talked about, those are the original maps. So it doesn't matter how things have shifted off and split off, or California was an island and it's not, and we're getting redirected back up. You're going to see all the pyramids and stuff are on a circumpolar ring. Okay,
yeah,
so even prior what was happening, and you start looking at things that the deception of what's going up there. I mean, when they can fake an entire
yeah,
eclipse and put an elliptical,
yeah,
there's
exactly.
stays, right? Like I said, most of the stuff that I'm aware of is being fought underground, but there's
Yeah,
a whole space component that most people are not looking at it. And there's a lot to be said for being in a safe place at a safe time. And this is one of the things, again, it's a thought. People think
mhm,
a theory. No, it's actually happening. We can track where the poles are going. You can see the geographic and the electrical magnetics.
yeah,
We see what that Schulman wave is doing. We can see the CMEs. We can, and a lot of us right now, like myself included, is my hearing right now is buzzing off the chart. I have got this humming that's like, and it's not tinnitus. If I hear one more individual use the
mhm,
word tinnitus, we are actually hearing what's called snow noise. You're hearing the vibration off all these damn satellites and towers. And it's an oscillation like bone conduction. I went in and I'm going to show this to something because a lot of people have never seen this. And I showed it to a couple of people. I said, I want you to listen to this and I want you to tell me where you're actually hearing this stuff. And they said, what? I said, no, I want you to go and do actually basically a hearing test on frequencies. Just go into on videos that go into YouTube. And I'm just going to show this because most people, again, when you're trying to tell people or trying to get them to see where to have some empathy or sympathy for you, you got to be able to show them what's going on.
Yeah.
So
There's a
in here,
lot of people with hearing at they call them ascension symptoms, but
bullshit.
yeah, exactly. They're
Bullshit.
picking up frequencies.
I want you just to take a look at some of these in here, but you can go in and there are many different ones that I use for people. But what will happen is as you get into the frequency, it will actually go in and you will hear the range. So most people, and some people can hear 10, 11,000. Most people are losing it, sometimes around 6 or 7. It's taking the longest commercial here. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you this and play it, because when you actually hear outside what we're hearing oscillating inside, that is from, again, electrical magnetics and playing with the, again, different things. So like I said, I was telling you ahead of time, all I did was yawn and I heard a whole different thing if I hold it here.
Frequency, yeah.
No different than your teeth are wiring in, gold, silver, all those things have got an effect on you. And what happens is that every tooth is wired into an organ. So you're playing a different frequency. If not, you can look at Dr. Jerry Tennant. So finally, we're getting into this thing here. So what I want to do is take a look. Great, adjust the volume in here and go to, it's wonderful. Now, oh, there we go. Okay, so in here, you'll just hear this for a sec.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so everyone hears differently. The mine's. Okay, so that's what we're hearing in about that 8, 9,000, okay? And remember also what your Rife machine that I was showing you with the Genius is going into. So these are some of the things as well. Like I said, once you go in, you can see all these different things on how to test your speakers, what you're hearing. And that's why it's so important. You know, this is not tinnitus, you know, and so it can be quite debilitating.
So different places you would hear different things. I mean, if you're in more high frequency area, you're going to hear it much screaming almost, right? Getting into a 15-minute city like Edmonton.
Well, you know, as weird as it is, okay, I was in an area, as you know, down there in the southern part of the Kootenays, and there's no cell phone service. Okay, your phones don't work there.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be hardwired in, right? Ethernet. And so I could still hear everything. So could some of my friends. A lot of people don't hear it, but a lot of us do. And so that's not a judgment of where is a safe place to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was still getting targeted there. And I'm not going to take it on as targeting. I'm targeting whatever. I'm hearing that extrasensory perception. Again, what happens is I can go into some of the cities and it will, I can feel it in different areas, like different chakras. So right now, they're just playing immensely with the, you know, 5th, 6th, 7th chakras here. But I can go into a city where it's different and feel it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this, they're experimenting so much. Like I said, they're building like, you know, it's like 7, 8G right now. And
yeah, well, they've got, they just, I guess I saw a video the other day, came across was Mount Everest. Now they got the internet on Mount Everest, right? Like,
where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, you start looking at you know, what we can do and how we can heal ourselves. And that's why it was really important for me to use these kind of scanners like sound wave detectors. You know, so really when I'm saying Genius biofeedback, you can just simulate it with, you know, ultrasound technology.
Yeah.
And sound. That's why I like using things, tuning forks and my drums and stuff with people, because you can pick up a certain frequency or hertz. But again, there's so much stuff you can only protect yourself. And I've got all the toys. I got like 60
Yeah.
grand here and it's like touching it. So one of the things, that's why I said it's really important for people to go and self-test themselves. And your voice is the most powerful thing. You are the commander. And this is what
your body is the amplifier. You are the speaker, right? And that's why we use a lot of variation of tones, because you're toning the flesh. And if
For
you
sure.
just talk like this the whole time, you're not gonna get anywhere.
No, and it's funny because, like, I was using all sorts of different things the other day, and it still came down to basics. I've got some of the most brilliant therapists, but they don't know the basics of the water. And as we talked about the pH and getting that. So it took like 3-4 days of baking soda with the maple syrup heated up, doing full-blown essential oils raindrops. And mine are different. What I do is when I do the raindrop on people, I do essential oils, little layer of castor oil or whatever else,
Mhm.
put hot wet towels on. And then we compress you like a castor oil pack on the abdomen, but it's done on the back and the feet. And so they can be also self-applied. And that's where we start getting it. After about 4, 5, 6 therapies, 4, 5, 6 days, the entire spine released. And I don't need to have, and that's a problem with chiropractic, is that it's a manual adjustment.
Yeah.
And it usually goes back. So, because you haven't changed, it's the cell memory. So until we put in the new codes with the alkalinity so that you can receive, and that's the other thing too, that's that pH. When I'm talking about receiving that energy, how can you receive the extra energy and the light and the new genetic upgrade codes if you're acidic? You won't.
Yeah.
Because you need to have that auric field looking really pink and purple. And those are the same things like with the teeth and the wiring. Every tooth is wired to the organ. When I see a client, I'm doing the iridology. I go through every different systems here. When I'm looking at you, even on here. Okay. And then we're making the suggestions and then going through all those different biofields for you to see where we can re-energize it back up here. Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like I said, they just don't know. And if you don't know how to get that back together, that is an art all in itself. And I mean, that's the kind of information when I give out to a client, right? It's the education you're missing.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
right? And the more energy, when your vibration, when your aura is back to that pink and purple, that's when you have the energy field and can be there. I don't need to do Reiki. I
Yeah.
don't need to do that stuff. You can do it from a distance if you're at that wavelength. I don't need to be into the 3D to touch
Tune in.
someone,
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important. So those are just
distant healing, but in a frequency. I mean, using something that has been already created, but you're sending it out, and a person can receive it or not, right? I mean, it's up to us. If I didn't believe that, it would probably block it somewhat. But I believe it works.
Energy, if you take it on, it will just amplify another 10, 15%. That was the same thing people didn't realize when we were doing, like Dr. Motos and doing with, we're just going to get the new you here in a minute. You see how much that dark brown has gone, and look at that color that was so washed out. Okay. Just by doing that for a few minutes with you. And that's what we want to do, and just bring us up into a better state, like where we're getting drained off. Like that yellow that's third chakra, something was bleeding or whatever. So right now, as you walk towards someone, you got a bubble there again. And again, it doesn't take much. Like I said, it could be one trauma. It could be physical, mental, emotional these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do that, and then I'll send you your little report, and it'll be really cool. And then kind of like a memento, because I think it's really important that people have the information. Why not give the client back the information that you need? Do you need that herb, your oil? Where is the things that you need to prioritize today? We'll deal with all the chronic stuff later. But, we can graph that out and at least give some people a bit of a start and a floor plan, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't need me to do that. You can do that as well as I can.
Exactly.
Some people probably better.
Yeah, but you have to, people are interested, and I'm sure, like that's the importance is just start and learn. And they might think it's complicated, or you have all the information. It doesn't have to be. You can keep it simple too, because you did it. You just went through, okay, this, that, this, okay, put in the shopping cart. So, and no checkout. So
I knew it's great that way. I was like, how are we going to be able to do that and bring this, to people in here and, take the fear factor out? And there's a lot to be said for like what they call ML, machine learning and stuff. And I think it's really important what, Sabrina Wallace is teaching on here. There's going to be a couple things left, and I really got to give a shout out to her, because it's really sad that, some of the different people and lawyers and, these people for justice and targeted this and that are attacking people rather than the message, right? That she's been giving out there for years and we've picked up. But there is a great one that's going to be kept. I think it's non-vaxxer 420 on Rumble. And I think people really need to know the whole Y-band, what's called a wide area body network. And the reason why on that, and there's a medical one, and people don't realize that the military police, like Pascal was talking, they all hear at a different frequency, or super soldiers do, right?
Yeah.
They have a different radio station playing in their head, so to speak. And so that is part of the thing that I think people need to be aware of. But if you don't know how the medical, and as much as I would love, I'm going to give Sabrina a thing, but someone has actually done this. I think this is so important. What Ryan has done and everything else. This is actually called non-vaxxer 420 on Rumble. I think people really need to go through here. They've put a couple different sites together, like Tony Pantalero's at Piton, but you're going to start seeing what Sabrina's been teaching here. So even if you go back, and I think there's going to be Sabrina Wallace archive someone's trying to do, because we've had less than 24 hours to try and save as much stuff with her.
Non-vaxxer 420. So just for the listeners.
Yeah, I think that's definitely in there, or just type in and see what you can do. Someone's starting to do an archive. There's Sabrina stuff in here. Again, talking about the dangers of wearables. Until people know how this actually works with those sensors that have been in us since the 70s, you got to remember they've had like 50, 60
What do
years.
you mean wearables? What do you mean? This like these sleep things and
All sorts of,
walking, how much you walk?
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I've never worn anything like that. But
So, even some of the Bluetooth stuff right now, anything that they can do. This is how they're, again, not the hospital, where these are like the secret hospitals they don't want you to know about, and how these things are rolling out. They're already here.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
what Ryan Velli was doing. That's why I think, if you take a look, and I'll just bring that up because I think
we'll end with this just because we're like 2.5 hours.
Take a look in here too. You'll see this is the one he did with Carrie Cassidy and stuff, but there's several different ones, one with Nino. Just put in Ryan Velli stuff and you'll see.
Oh, I think I have seen him. Yes, I think I saw that show. I remember the background.
Yeah, and this is like they said, it's happening. So, but anyway, I wanted to thank you so much, Carol. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
And
you're the pleasure. It's great to have you here, and we'll do more. I mean, just let me know if you got. I mean, we could just maybe pick out one thing and.
Mary, you want to do my cacao? You know what? I was on a show with Tony Pantallersco and they started talking about chocolate. I said, oh, wait till you see mine. I found out with David Wolf and Marcus Rockrance and Malcolm Saunders at the light sound, thing, and the harmonic guys, right? But I said, wait till you see how I put, my chocolate, my cacao together. And I said, then it's real medicinal, right? Like when you put in essential oils. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I even have cacao essential oil too. And it's such an aphrodisiac. Like, I mean, just to do massages with this stuff. Like, I mean, how can you not love it? To me, that's like Gary Young was right. It's the way to heaven.
I have like 6 cacao trees. And and what I make is I'll take the Mariola honey because it's, oval, not hectagon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I got lots of ylang-ylang trees. So I actually infuse the honey with ylang-ylang and then sweeten the cacao with the ylang-ylang honey. It's like a mini orgasm. I mean, when you're drinking it, because ylang-ylang is, like a aphrodisiac.
Oh, for sure.
Or they use a lot here. Well, I've got the Bokansana trees. And so they'll take the bark from the Bokansana and make tea out of it because that's the heart opening. Or I do the flowers too. I've got Bokansana flower essences. So.
It's funny. Carol and all those guys sent me some stuff like Tony did too, his triangle and stuff too, but also the shungite honey. And my honey is actually black that they sent me.
Oh,
using the shungite, putting it all around the beehives.
Oh, wow.
But the actual thing went black. And then I was just going to show you something too before we leave. Those are also some of the new stuff too. The tech, actually, if you put magnets or coins in here, they'll float. The electrical
really?
magnet. Tony's doing some really wild stuff, Biomedic and a few other things. These are called triangles or anti-spike tech. That's for cleaner buds, but trying to disengage. So we're doing a lot of research here, including like you mentioned about the honey, but some of it is the simple recipes. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got meals that want my chocolate, my cacao recipes. You don't know where we could end up on the next show in the kitchen making chocolate.
Oh, that would be
Making
great.
twice.
Okay, Karen. Well, lovely, lovely catching up, and we will yeah, keep me in tuned, and let's do another show, like not wait that long. It was like 2 months ago or 2.5. So I'm available, and I'm free this summer, so I'm just
Maybe we could have a mutual kitchen show. That's what I'm
yeah.
thinking. We could have the Kootenai. I did a great show with Jessica Morocco at ACIO, and we did one the Kootenai women. Right? It's like, what can we do to share, from our kitchen to your kitchen,
Yeah.
quantumize.
Well, mine
Thank
is very exciting.
Yeah, we'll have to do a tour of your lovely. It's called? Can you just tell from my people as well
Oh,
your
uh,
sanctuary?
yeah, I have the lightworkersinstitute.com, which is my school, which I teach is psychosomatic therapy and
Right.
body-mind communication, just rebuilding my website, which is exciting. And my sanctuary is Heaven and Earth Sanctuary.com. And you can see everything on there. I've got 6 houses, and I've got 10 acres along Rio Chirripó. And Chirripó means eternal waters. So bathing in eternal waters, and I've got a huge, massive copper pyramid and yoga pagoda. Yeah, and fire pits and lots of beautiful swimming areas down at the river. And it's spring-like weather all year round. It's not like the beach where it's bloody hot and humid. So we have perfect weather all year round right here, right up Mount Chirripó. And we have a huge community here with we have a Waldorf school and a Montessori school up here. Yeah, a lot of organics and a lot of foreigners that are doing sustainable forests. Instead of the Ticos selling everything off, people will
Mhm.
buy 100,000 acre or 10,000 acres, and they only maintain it, like keep it as a forest, not clearing it for cows and banana trees and stuff. So yeah, it's a very interesting place to live, and lots to do here, lots of musicians, and
I think
that's
it's so cool. I'm looking at your Facebook, just bringing my people so that I
yeah,
still have Facebook, but I think it's so important that, people look at a way of communication, whichever one of these modalities we've talked about today.
yeah.
But I think that's it's so amazing when you look at the Institute, what you've done, what you've gathered. Just in closing, what's the biggest takeaway you
Hear
have
that.
learned, recreated yourself, or the biggest plus that you've noticed moving there from here? Or do you want to maintain a back and forth sort of thing, or what are you thinking?
No, I was thinking I still have a vehicle in Vancouver, but I sold everything in Canada, and I've just got my temporary residency down here. So yeah,
Mhm.
no, this is my home now, and
It's
yeah, I would like to go back to Canada, but it's a different world, and we live in the jungle. It's so peaceful, and I mean, I can see everything on the internet, right? Maybe just click on the Heaven and Earth and see what I'm not that much on Facebook anymore because they took down all my sites. They took down all my pages. I had, over 10,000 on Lightworkers Institute. I was one of the ones that was taken down in October 15th of 2020, right? Just before the election. So
wow.
yeah, if you click on Heaven and Earth, you'll go to my the sanctuary. And when I'm not running retreats here, I actually do Airbnb. So I get people coming from Canada that I know. And is that your click on Heaven and Earth where
I
you're
did.
oh
I did. I went to home and then about us, but the retreats and the sacred land, and then even just like location stuff and guardians and facilities and stuff. But just so that my people,
yeah.
and I'm sure yours know what you are. But anyway, just to see where it was, because I was talking with Janine, right? And like, well, where exactly is this?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just an hour and a half from the beach from Uvita or Dominical, which is the Pacific side. So
Got it.
yeah.
No,
Anyways,
that's great. No,
yeah.
I like seeing the vision that you've had and created there. So
Yeah, it's, I don't think it wasn't me. I believe I was appointed here. And I think we're all, in our positions where we need to be at
Yeah.
this time and what needs to happen. And, it's just easier here in the jungle. It's just, I don't have to be in the city and all that energy and nobody's, the Ticos, I'm sure are vaccinated, but most people on the mountain here are not. Because
Really?
most of
Mm.
them are organic or they're, sound healers and lots of massage therapists. And people come from all over the world here. Um, we're really well known for the community up here. So, yeah.
No, it makes a big difference. Like, and that's one of the things too, just you've gone from that beautiful environment to this is actually the environment I'm in that, I'm looking to see
Yeah.
that we develop. So, as the Americans know, we're just above Spokane and stuff. But again, we've got that glacier water here. Like some of this is just pristine, most untouched stuff that, we're trying to preserve here too. But yeah, I think it's really important here,
I
wherever
love Canada. Canada is a beautiful, beautiful country, right? So,
we're trying to
yeah.
keep our motherland clean.
Yeah. And I never left because of any of that reason. I just threw a dart at the board and said, hey, I want to do something different. And I like to do many things different. So it just, I went through my galactic stuff and I just, I have to be here. So anyways,
Yeah.
okay, Karen, much love to y'all. Mwah. Y'all out there. So it'll take a while to download.